Orion came into her room and she was rubbing an ointment on the bite mark. However, she was feeling very angry. She threw away the container of ointment, and with an angry face she was looking in the mirror. She was thinking that I'm the one who got bitten, so why did he act like the victim? She was remembering the earlier time when Damien said, "Why are you doing this? Why would you choose that animal over me?" At the current time she was gritting her teeth and clenching her hand. She said, "How dare he call Cassidon an animal, when he is the real beast here?" On the next day at the Imperial Palace training ground, the captain came towards Cassidon and said something to him. After hearing that, Cassidon asked, "You mean to war?" The captain said, "That's right, Marquis. I officially want you to take care of everything." While looking at Cassidon, he was thinking that Archduke Damien's fencing skills are excellent, without a doubt. I thought it would be difficult for someone to appear who could surpass him, but yes, I would like to test the skills of this guy. Cassidon closed his eyes and said, "I understand, but I am not good enough for it. I do appreciate that you want to do something like this." On the other side, the Emperor was looking at his advisor. The advisor was also standing there. The Emperor said, "Getting a great knight is a big win. But we must pay close attention to this. That Duke Damien rules the North region. Count Serica's family has healing powers, and Marquis Deus is the second commander of the Imperial Knights. This is the level of balance that must be maintained so that none of the three families gain too much power." The Emperor was thinking that I thought the Marquis was not concerned because he wanted to ensure the safety of the Count and his family. But then he was remembering the old memory, in which the prince said to Cassidon that, "Don't you feel anything after hearing what Orion said? You have never seen Orion as just family, have you?" The Emperor was thinking about it again and again, and at the current time he said, "Good for you." He asked his advisor, "Is Marquis Deus in the Imperial Palace?" The advisor replied, "He's with the other knight." The Emperor said, "I need to tell them something," so-called the Knight Commanders. However, on the outside the captain was on the ground and Cassidon was holding his sword. It was looking like they would just have a duel, and the captain lost, very easily. With a sweaty face the captain was looking downwards, and then after receiving the order, both of them enter into the Imperial Palace. And both of them said, "We greet the bright sun of the Empire." The Emperor said, "I called you both here to announce some good news. Thanks to what you did, we were able to gain a diplomatic advantage with Elsa. The banquet I promised to organize will be held in December. I hope to see all the knights there." Both of them said, "As you say, Your Majesty." The Emperor said, "I have thought of giving a special gift to the Marquis at the banquet. Elsa has suggested an alliance to demonstrate our friendship. I heard that their young princess is quite a beauty. So I think that will be a great start." However, after hearing Cassidon became serious, the Emperor looked at him and asked, "What do you think, Marquis?" Cassidon was thinking that this old fox, he wants to separate Orion and I on purpose. He said, "Your Majesty, I have already received enough grace from you. You should not give me something like this. The banquet is already enough. And Your Majesty, at that time I simply followed the instructions from Lord Lumen, the first commander of the knights. So it's not me who deserves to receive this reward as I had just joined the knights, but rather Lord Lumen is the most deserving one for this." Lumen was looking at him with a sweaty face, and thinking that, I knew it the moment he took his sword. That he was different from me. His skills were amazing. I admittingly underestimated him as being just a slave. To my surprise, he defeated me without any hint of mockery. Even gave me all the great credit, and it's a pity. The Emperor said, "I'm sure you will change your mind after seeing her in person. You should get some rest until the day of the banquet arrives. We must not forget to give a good place to the former family of the Marquis. So make sure to come to the banquet alongside the honor bestowed upon you by Count Serica. Cassidon was very angry after hearing all of this. However, he was controlling it, and said, I understood, Your Majesty. After that both of them came out. The commander was calling him, Marquis Deus, Marquis, please wait a moment. However, Cassidon was not slowing down, but then he stopped and looked at the commander. The commander bowed in front of him and said, I wanted to apologize, I underestimated you. I'm sorry for judging you with a narrow mind. Cassidon said, there is no need to apologize to me. The commander said, I have never seen a knight with such amazing skills with a sword before. Please teach me how to fight like you. Cassidon was looking at him and thinking that why would the captain of the knights want someone like me to teach him? But then, the emperor's image came in his mind and he was thinking that, it's right. Even with the title the emperor gave me, I'm still not in a position where I can fully protect Orion. He was looking at the commander and thinking that, for that, I must have my own people. He smiled and said okay. After hearing this with a happy face, the commander was looking at him. On the other side, Cassidon wrote everything on the letter and transferred it to Orion. And in the letter he wrote, everything went like that and I decided to train frequently with Sir Lumen. His Majesty asked me to participate in the banquet he will organize in December. I wish you to be at peace until that day. And then Sasha said, Miss, we have arrived. Orion said, yes, let's go in. She put down the letter and thinking that, Cassidon, who became a marquis and captured the attention of everyone in the empire is, no longer someone with whom I can act comfortably as before. I am sure he is doing well on his own path. Both of them entered into the shop of clothes. She was thinking that even the captain of the First Order of Knights and his noble family get closer to Cassidon. And in the end, even the gossip about his origins completely disappeared. After entering into the shop, she heard that some women were talking to each other. One of them said, I've heard that rumor too. They say that Marquis Deus, one of them captains of the knights, is an outstanding man. After hearing this with a smile, Orion was thinking that, without me, he managed to rise up to the heavens, to the point of being quite dazzling. And then the shop owner said, welcome young lady Serica. After hearing the Serica name, someone looked at her. The woman was showing her some dress and asking that, what do you think of this dress? Orion said, I would like something that covers my collarbones, please. Sasha asked, don't you like your collarbones, miss? Orion said, it's not like that. The banquet is in December, and I'm afraid it will be cold. While touching herself, she was thinking that, what's the point of being able to cure other people's illness when I can't even heal my own wounds? And Damien has not visited me since that day. The fact that Damien remains linger on my body disgusts me. In both this and the previous life. While she was thinking all of this, someone was standing behind her. This person pinched her clothes and said, excuse me. But Orion was still thinking about that topic, that it's as if this terrible nightmare will never end, but, after feeling that someone was touching her, she looked at that person. With a smile, the woman greeted her and said, greetings young lady, my name is Lillian Grace. I have not made my debut in society yet, but I wanted to greet you. I'm sorry to startle you. After seeing her, Orion was shocked. The woman said, I just overheard your name from the seamstress. By any chance are you the daughter of Count Serica who adopted Marquis Deus, the gladiator? With sweaty face, Orion was thinking that, why is this woman here? Damien's lover who caused trouble to me in my previous life. This woman who told lies about me to Damien. Lillian was grabbing her hand and with a smile she said, our encounter must be fate. So let's be closer in the future. Lillian said, I have so many questions to ask you. But then suddenly someone said, Lillian, we must leave now. She looked towards that person and said, "Oh yes," and then she looked at Orion and said, "How unfortunate. We should talk next time," and then she left. Orion was standing still, she was not moving at all. Sasha came close to her and asked, "Do you know her, miss?" Orion was about to say something, but the woman who was showing them the dresses asked, "Isn't she a very lively young lady?" Miss Grace mentioned that she accidentally hit that young lady with her carriage. Orion looked at the woman and asked, "Miss Grace?" The woman replied, "Yes, she is the person who just left with the young lady." Orion was thinking that, but in my past, Lillian is supposed to go to work with Damien before winter arrives. So many things that I knew from the past have changed. Just like that, the time passes by and winter came. In the north at the Damien's castle, his butler Calvin said, "Master, I searched for all the information about Sir Cassidon. He was first found by a slave trader before he came into contact with the Count's family. And at that time he seemed to be wearing a rather expensive outfit. Damien said there is no doubt that he was not a typical slave, especially considering his personality and skills with the sword. His butler said according to the description of his clothing, it seems that he was someone from Highland. The butler said, I also found out that he acquired a sword that doesn't belong to this country at all. He came close to Damien and said that sword is. After hearing about the sword, Damien was shocked. He said, investigate this matter more thoroughly, in every way possible, and by all means, you understood. After some time, the first day of the royal banquet arrived. At the Serica Palace, Orion was coming downwards, but then suddenly she saw someone. It was Cassidon. With a blushy face and smile she said, Cassidon, you are here. She came close to him, and he was grabbing her hand and said, I'm sorry for coming late. Actually, I have missed you so much. Orion replied, you are not late at all. I'm not even ready for the party yet. Cassidon said, you should not attend the first day of the party. His Majesty has also granted me special permission. Instead, I would like to invite you somewhere else today. After a while, both of them came near to a palace. After looking at it, Orion said, I knew it. Cassidon said, it's a new mansion I built. Both of them entered into the palace and walking inside it. Cassidon said, very few people know that this place belongs to me now. Apparently I did not let anyone know. He was looking at her and said, I wanted a place that I can go without anyone bothering me. With a smile, Orion asked, who did you want to live here with you? He came close to her, said, and asked, do you really want to know? And then he kissed her on her forehead. While walking, Orion looked around herself and asked, isn't it too empty? Wouldn't it be better to bring people to work here? He said, there are too many people in the marquette. And if you pass through that door, you will also find out warehouse, where all the food is stored. So do you want me to prepare something for you to eat? With a bit surprised, she said, you know how to cook. He replied, I want to see with my own eyes how you enjoy a meal prepared by me. I used to cook frequently when I had time. With a blushy face, Orion was looking at him and thinking that, so charming, even when he's talking about something like that. He touched her waist and pulled her towards himself, and asked, or should we go in my room and talk about other things? Both of them were squeezing each other's hands and they started to kiss. While looking at his eyes, Orion said, you wanted to talk. You meant with our bodies, right? Cassidon replied, because we have not seen each other in so long. There are a lot of things we need to discuss about, and I don't think it will be easy to attend the banquet tomorrow if we really let our bodies talk. He grabbed her, and then he was holding her in his arms. He said, I'm not confident that only one discussion will be enough. After hearing this, Orion's face became totally red. She said his name in shyness. After a while, both of them enter into the room. He put down Orion and said, don't worry. I would not lay a single finger on you unless you allow me to. After hearing this, she was looking at him with a smile. He was looking away from her and said, "I only kissed you because you provoked me. It was purely instinct, I could not help it." But then she grabbed him and both of them were smiling. She asked him, "Have you been unwell? Why did you stop visiting for a while?" He sat beside her and said 2 months ago Elsa and Seville began to have conversation about an alliance. That old folks tried to get me married to the youngest princess of the Elsa kingdom. After hearing this, Orion was shocked. In a loud voice she said, "What?" But then he comforted her and said, "You are the only one for me. The emperor asked me to attend the banquet with you. I'm sure it's to observe our interaction. I'm sure he will make you see the princess and I together to see how you react." Orion said if it were not so, there would be no reason for him to call us together when we are not even siblings anymore. He thinks that if he puts another person as an obstacle between us, he will be able to keep me as his obedient hunting dog. And I miss you like crazy, but I could not come to see you because the emperor has been watching me closely. And then Orion came close to him, and he put his hand on her head. She said, "I understand." While touching her hair with a serious face he said, "But I will never forgive anyone who tried to separate you from me." She put her hand on his face and said, "Cassidan, I miss you." Both of them were cuddling and he said, "I miss you more than anyone in the world." He came above her and asked, "Are you trying to test my patience?" First she was looking at him normally, but then a smile came on her face. After a few minutes, he was kissing her hand and licking the finger. However, after doing it for a while he said, "This would not do. I feel too filthy to be with someone who is as pure as you." And then he stood up. In a worried state, Orion stood up and grabbed his hand. She asked, "Do you remember what I said? If you are filthy, then everyone in this world must be filthy too. And I want you." She pulled him close to herself and said, "I want you." And then they hugged each other. Orion was laying on the bed and Cassidan came above her. He said, "You may regret this." However, she was ready to do it. She was touching his back and he removed his clothes. While doing this he said, "I have been wanting to do this since the first time I saw you." With the blushy face, she was thinking that just hearing his voice makes my mind go blank. "I'm not sure if I have the right to be with you. A corner of my heart is filled with anxiety, but I find the way you blindly pursue me. This time I get to spend with you is so precious. And I am so happy that the person I am with is you." He said, "I love you, Orion." And then he started to kiss her. She replied, "I love you, Cassidan." He said, "You are the only one in this world who brings me peace." And then both of them started to do that. They were doing it very intensely and for a long time. They lost the track of time. And while doing it again and again, the night came. They were laying close to each other. Orion was thinking that such warmth. What is this scent? This delicate scent enough to console even the tiniest uneasiness. She opened her eyes and found that Cassidan was looking at her. She asked, "You are awake?" He said, "Yes, I am." While touching hair, she said, "I smelled something nice. Have I ever told you that I like the sand of Bestia?" He said, "No, I just had a feeling." And then he moved his hand forward and removed the blanket which was covering her naked body. While removing it he asked, "Will you be able to attend the banquet at this rate?" With a blushy face she grabbed the blanket and covered herself again. With a smile he was looking at her. He came close to her and said, "I'm so happy that I can't tell if this is real or just a dream. I used to see you in my dreams every night. Could it be that my dream finally came true? During the last 2 months, do you have any idea how worried I was that someone might have snatched you away?" After hearing this she started to laugh and said, "Yesterday I felt the same way." On the other side at the Serica Palace, the worker was moving around, but then he noticed someone's chariot. He came outside to find who is it. The person who came from the chariot is none other than Damien. After seeing him, the worker was shocked. The worker asked, "What brings you here at this hour?" With a serious face, Damien asked, "Where is Orion?" After a while, Cassidy was brushing her and tying the knot her cloths. He said, "I wish I could stay with you like this forever. But it's getting late, so you must return home." He came close to her and said, "I will escort you there." However, she was not able to stand properly. Due to the earlier intense penetration by Cassidy, she was feeling a bit pain because of it. After looking at it, Cassidy smiled and said, "I suppose it will be difficult to hide the traces of me left on you." He came close to her and said, "I'm actually glad." With a blushy and serious face, she was looking at him. Cassidy said it was a joke, and then some time passes by. Currently he was touching her feet and asked, "While I was away, did that bastard Damien try to harm you at all?" She was looking at him and thinking that the scar Damien left on my collarbone disappeared a long time ago. But I wonder what Cassidy would say if he found out about it. And I don't want to worry him for no reason. She grabbed his clothes and with a smile she said, "Nothing happened." She was thinking that you already have too much to worry about, including the Emperor. Now I just want to protect this beautiful moment, please. That's what I thought. But then both of them returned to the Serica Palace. They found that Damien was standing there. Orion was shocked and angry. She was thinking that, why is that man here? After hearing some voice, Damien looked at her and said Orion. But then he found a red mark on her neck, and both Cassidy and Orion were holding each other's hands. Damien became angry and he was thinking that, she has gone mad. She knows what a filthy bastard he is. But she still accepted him. Cassidy came in front of him and asked, "What brings you here at such a late time, my lord?" Damien replied, "I thought it was odd that you were absent from the banquet, but I can't believe you were with Orion." With a smile he said, "Poor Cassidy, I've always known you were an animal. Even worse than I thought, but you are never going to be able to get what you want." Cassidy smiles and took a deep breath and said, "There are so many around here who wants to take political or military advantage and destroy everything, don't you think?" He put his hand on Orion and they started to walk away from him. While walking away, Cassidy said, "You should focus on resolving the smuggling incident instead. I will not just stand by and watch, you know." Cassidy removed his coat and covered Orion by it and said, "It's late, so you should get home now. I will pick you up tomorrow morning." In a worried state, Orion was looking at him and said, "Cassidy." But after looking at his smile, she knows that he will handle everything, so she said, "Okay, let's meet tomorrow." And then she left, and both Damien and Cassidy were looking at each other. Cassidy said, "You seem to have much to say, my lord." Damien said, "I came here to see Orion. I have nothing to say to a beast like you." After hearing this, with a smile, Cassidy pointed his finger at his cheek and said, "It seems the scar you got that night was not nearly enough." Damien became angry and said, "A man cannot get angry at a mere insect, no matter how irritating it is." Cassidy replied, "Then I don't understand why you are so interested in what a mere insect is up to, my lord. So you should stay out of my business. I will keep still." Damien asked, "Keep still? You torture Kindle so badly that you almost killed him. Isn't this ironic? An animal who doesn't even know his place because he can't help but be controlled by lust instead of his mind. So it's difficult to believe that Highland, the fallen kingdom that disappeared, had you as its last crown prince." After hearing this, Cassidy was shocked. He was thinking that how did he know this? Damien said, "At that time no body was found, so I assumed you died in some remote place. But it looks like you have been hiding like a rat. It took me months to find out your true identity. You once held the noble position of the crown prince. So I never expected you to survive by selling your body in the most disgusting manner. Cassidy was about to say something, but then he calmed himself and said, I don't know what you are talking about. Damien laughed and said, I can't tell if you are shameless or if you simply don't care if you're caught. Does this mean Orion knows about this too? Cassidy starts to walk towards him and asked, Did not I warn you at the martial arts competition? Don't you dare say that name. Damien said, no matter how many traces you leave on pure white snow, even if you soil it will never be truly dirty, no matter how many times you taste her. It will only worsen your beastly thirst. Damien was turning away from him and asked, Did not you feel anxious even as you took her body? Do you get nervous? It was probably your thirst and compulsion that drove you to engrave yourself on her innocent body. While going away he said, In the end, you have placed the woman you love in danger with your own 2 hands, and then he left. Cassidy was standing quietly. He was thinking that since his threat of revealing my past failed, I suppose he is trying to use Orion against me. He looked at the moon and thinking that, if Orion is in danger, all I need to do is eliminate everything that puts her at risk. While smiling he was thinking that, you are a ray of light I found after a lifelong darkness. I don't need anyone else but you. You are the only one I long for. On the next day, both Orion and Cassidy arrived at the Imperial Palace. He was helping her to come outside of the chariot. She said thank you. She asked, we will have to speak formally to each other once we are inside the banquet hall, would not be? So I will be relying on you, Marquise. Cassidy said, I will escort you inside, Lady Orion. And then both of them entered into the Imperial Palace party hall. After seeing Cassidy, all of the ladies were looking at him. They were saying, oh goodness, Lord Marquis. They were coming towards him to greet him. With a blushy face and smile, one of them said, I was so worried because you were absent on the first day of the banquet. Someone said the rumors don't do you any justice. How are you so beautiful? Someone said the story about you capturing the Elsa pirate is very popular. I heard that you even caught the munition trafficker. Orion was thinking that they are flocking to him again today. But then someone said, I heard that the trafficker is Count Christine. After hearing this, Orion was a bit surprised. The women were talking to each other. They were saying, isn't House Christine famous for its diamond mine? Another one said, don't you hear the result of the trial? Apparently they mine about the equivalent amount of diamonds and manganese stone. He has been hiding it from the Archduke. I wonder how he kept him silent. The woman who was standing close to Cassidy said, Marquis, please look over there. The women were talking that, isn't that Lady Christine? How did she get into the banquet? Orion was looking at her and thinking that, Avly Christine. She's usually at the front and center of events like this, so I was wondering where she was. And then the Lady Christine glared at all of them. The women turned away her face and said, Marquise, the ice sculpture in the garden is so pretty. Would you go for a walk with me? With a smile, Cassidy replied, thank you for the offer, but I wish to spend time with my sister at this banquet, and then he touched her hand. The women were looking at it, and said, I see, I guess it's true that you two are very close. Someone said they came to the banquet together after all. The lady said, I'm so envious. Orion said His Majesty ordered us to attend the banquet together, and we were family once, so I'm sure the Emperor is being considerate. But then suddenly Lady Christine came forward and said, you go too far with your deception. Perhaps the generous Emperor might believe this, but can't everyone here tell the truth? You two are much too close. Is this how you behave with your family, Marquis? After hearing this, other women started murmuring about it. Orion replied, people often misunderstood our relationship, even when we were family. Lady Christine said, it's because you two are so close. But if this is not a misunderstanding but rather something else? And then suddenly someone interrupted them, and it was Lillian. She said, "Oh goodness, are not you Lady Sarika?" Orion was shocked after hearing her voice. Orion was thinking that it is Lillian. With a smile and blushy face, Lillian said, "We met at the dress shop earlier this fall, remember? I recognize you even from afar. May I join this conversation?" With a sweaty face, Orion was thinking that, why is Lillian here? With terror in her eyes, Lillian said, "I'm so upset that you are being misunderstood so unfairly. Lady Sarika personally took the Marquis into her family, so it's perfectly understandable that they have become as close as a brother and sister." Then again the women started to murmuring and talking about it. Lillian looked at the Lady Christine and said, "Oh my, I must have interrupted the conversation. This is my first time in high society, so please forgive me for being so inexperienced." While looking at her, she said, "You are the lady of House Christine, are not you? I wanted to say hello to you too." Christine said, "Pardon?" Lillian said, "I have not heard the details, but you are the talk of this season, aren't you? Even here at the banquet today, I have heard the name Christine so many times already." And then suddenly all of the women started to laugh, but they were trying to hide it. Lady Christine became angry and she asked, "What did you say just now?" Lillian and looked at her and said, "Pardon? I said you are the top talk of this season. Did I say something wrong?" Lady Christine shouted, "Are you making fun of me?" She came close to her, and she grabbed her hand lightly in anger. But then suddenly Lillian shouted and said, "You are hurting me. Please let go of my arm." Lady Christine removed her hand. The people there were murmuring that what's going on? Isn't that the daughter of Count Christine? Damien was also standing there. He ordered one of the knight and said something to him. The knight started to move towards Lady Christine and Lillian. Lady Christine said, "What the?" Someone came close to Lillian and said, "Oh goodness, are you all right?" With a crying face, Lillian asked, "Did I say something wrong?" But all I wanted to do was become her friend. Christine shouted, "Wait." I only held her arm very lightly. But that woman suddenly. However, someone interrupted her and said, "Excuse me, it was a royal knight. He said only guests who were invited by the emperor can attempt this banquet." He was holding her hand and said, "Don't make a scene and leave quietly." Lady Christine was shouting, "Let go of me. I have something to tell the emperor." Orion was looking at her with a sweaty face, and then she looked at Lillian. And then after looking at her fake crying face, she remembered the old memory in which Lillian said, "The truth is I got burned by hot tea." Damien came forward and said, "Did you torment Lillian again?" Orion said, "You always believe her words over mine. But I did not do anything." Damien asked, "Are you saying that Lillian lied? Then how will you explain the burn on her wrist?" Orion asked, "Did you even see it?" Damien said, "What?" She again asked, "Did you see if there really is a wound underneath the bandage with your own 2 eyes?" And then Damien came forward and slapped her. At the current time she was thinking that, I suddenly remembered that day, when Damien hit me for the first time. And on the other side Lillian was giggling while maintaining the fake crying face. That's all for today's video. If you want to know what happened next, then like and subscribe, Alchemy Animation YouTube channel.